So those of you who have seen here, been coming to these webinars recently, you've seen this before. This is the NLP model of perception. And so this is the model of how in NLP, we take the external world and we filter it down into our perception of the world. And the essence of this model is that you cannot perceive reality on its own terms. You have to filter it through your neurology, through your senses. And it's not the world that you're engaging with or reacting to. In fact, it's just your model of the world that you're responding to. And that's actually really good news, because the world, if you haven't figured it out yet, is not in your control. And so you can't change the world. You can't change what other people do. You can't change the economy. You can't change the politics. You can influence it, but you can't change those things directly. And when you try to change those things directly, in fact, what you're doing at the essence is that you're disempowering yourself, because what you're doing is you're trying to take power over something that is not able to be in your power. And so the cool thing about understanding this model and NLP and perception is that what we do is we learn the things that are truly in our power, and we learn to focus to have more power over our power, so that we can then influence the world and lead the world, first by starting by influencing and leading ourselves. And so that's really, in a nutshell, what NLP is about. It's about learning about the structure of perception, so that you can start to recognize the things that are in your control and the things that aren't, so that you can take leadership or ownership over the stuff that is your control, so that you can then change the world or influence the world, but from a place that's empowered, influence the situations that are around you. Now, in this model, I'm not going to dive fully into this. I've got an 8-minute video that does this whole model on YouTube. It's called the NLP Model of Perception. So if you want to learn this whole entire model, you can go to YouTube and watch it for free. But what I want to talk to you about today is that the essence is we start with an external event, and that's basically the outside world. And the outside world is unknowable. It's unknowable. What that means is that if there was a dog whistle blowing behind you, you wouldn't even know that it was there. If there's infrared, microwave, there's Blu-ray and Wi-Fi, all radio waves buzzing around all around you right now, that you are not perceiving or mapping them because your sense receptors don't pick them up. That's this green box right here. And because you're not picking those up, if you turned on a radio, you'd hear the radio station. But because you don't have those sense receptors on you, your eyes only pick up from violet to red, and anything infrared or ultraviolet, you don't map it. What that means is that what you're experiencing right now is a perceptual map of the world. It's not the world. It's your perception of it. And it's filtered down, watered down, and at the end of the day, you get billions of bits going on outside, and what you're working with and responding to is your filtered down model of what's going on out there. And that model is getting filtered through your senses, it's getting filtered through your thinking patterns, and it's getting filtered through your frames of mind. And what you end up with is your perception, and your perception influences your physiology, and your physiology, based on that perception, is driving your responses and ultimately then the results that you're getting in your life. What we're going to focus in on the next hour or so here today are these first two boxes. So we're going to focus in on the senses. And the second box, metaprograms, is the NLP term for your personality profiling model, is the metaprograms model, where we're going to start with today. And we're going to focus on one particular personality pattern that we have, which is our preferred sensory systems. And so some people operate primarily through their visual sense. Some people process information primarily auditorily, and some people process information primarily kinesthetically. And depending on which mode you're in and how you process information will have big impact on how you learn, how you communicate, how you understand information, and then ultimately what you understand about the world is getting filtered down through that pattern. And so that's what we're really going to focus in today, is on the senses. And one of the thinking patterns of what is your preferred sensory system. So does that make sense for you guys?